I want to talk about the staffing system that's going to let your clinic grow. Now, I know for a fact that your biggest problem right now isn't marketing, it isn't equipment, it isn't competition, it's people. Same. Finding them, training them, keeping them, figuring out who to trust and who to let go, and doing all of that while you're still trying to see patients, manage the schedule, handle patient complaints, and run a business. I can tell you with complete confidence that people have caused me more pain, more setbacks, and more lost revenue than any other factor in my business. And that's just the wrong people. However, the right people in the right roles with the right culture around them have been the single biggest driver of every breakthrough we've ever had. So today I'm going to break down the staffing mistakes that destroy clinics, the hiring moves that build a solid team, the leadership strategies that let your clinic scale without depending entirely on you, and the long-term plays that turn your team into a genuine competitive advantage that someone would pay a premium to own. So let's start with the stuff that will destroy you. This is going to be going in the trash bucket, the staffing decisions that cost you the most money, hiring bodies because you're desperate. This one is almost always universal. You're busy, you need help, someone applies who seems decent, has a pulse, and is available, and you hire them because you just can't keep operating shorthandedly. I've done this. Every clinic owner has done this. And every single time, it costs you more than just the empty seat would have. A bad hire who breaks your culture costs you in 3 ways. First, they do damage to your patient experience and your team morale while they're there. Second, when you finally let them go, the rest of your team has to watch that process, and how you handle it tells them everything about whether you actually have standards or whether standards are optional. And third, the mental and emotional energy of managing a bad fit drains you and your leadership team in ways that don't show up on a spreadsheet but absolutely show up in your results. Slow down and hire right. Promoting on tenure instead of readiness. This one I've made more than any other mistake. You have a great provider or a great front desk coordinator who's been with you for 2 years. They've earned it. They deserve a promotion. So you make them your lead, your manager, your clinic director, and then they struggle. Not because they're bad people, because great at doing the job and great at leading others in the company are 2 completely different skills. Leadership is a learned capability. Just because someone has been with you the longest does not mean they're ready to manage your team, protect your culture, and make decisions when you're not in the building. We put good people into leadership positions at Genesis who had to spend years learning on the job at our expense and theirs. And when you need a leader, hire someone who's already been a leader. Another mistake is keeping someone too long after you know they need to go. Every clinic owner I've ever talked to can name the person they kept 6 months too long. The one they knew wasn't right, but they kept hoping would turn around, and every one of them tells me the same thing. The moment they finally let that person go, the whole team exhaled. Because your best employees know. They see it every day. They see the double standard. They see the low performance being tolerated, and it sends a message that the core values are optional if you've been around long enough. Your best people will start to look for an exit before your worst person does. Move faster. And micromanaging, because you haven't built systems. This one is different because it's usually not intentional. You're not a micromanager by personality. You became one because there's no documented standard for anything, so every decision either has to go through you or gets made wrong. Your staff asks you 15 questions a day because there's no SOP telling them what to do. Every patient complaint lands in your lap because there's no protocol for handling it without you. You can't step away from the clinic because nothing runs correctly when you're not there. That's not a staff problem, that is a systems problem. Build the systems, and the micromanagement mostly goes away on its own. Now to bucket 2, the hiring and management moves that will build a real team. These are your fundamentals, the things every clinic needs to have in place before it can grow beyond you. So move number 1 here is going to be writing your own core values before your next hire. Not a list of nice words you put on a website, a real operating document. What does your clinic actually stand for? How do your team members treat each other when things get hard? What happens when a provider cuts a corner? What happens when someone lies to a patient? What behavior, regardless of how good their clinical skills are, is absolutely unacceptable and results in immediate separation? Write it down, be specific, and then make it the centerpiece of your hiring process. Put it in your job posting. Ask questions in your interview that reveal whether the candidate actually lives those values or is just smart enough to say the right things. The difference between a team that runs on culture and a team that runs on your physical presence is a set of real, lived core values. One of my clinic owners finally hired a clinic director who had memorized our core values, not because she'd rehearsed the answers, but because she genuinely lived them in her previous work. That's who you're looking for. Move 2, hire from companies that already train really well. When we look for providers or any type of team member at Genesis, we've changed our protocol. We only hire from big companies, maybe Laserway, Ideal Image, VO MedSpa, Skin Spirit, places with heavy corporate training programs that drill the basics deep. Why? Because we know those people already understand patient flow, treatment protocols, and professional standards. We don't have to teach them the fundamentals. We just layer our core values, our systems, and our higher level training on top of a solid foundation. The added bonus? Those places generally have a rough culture, and those providers are usually already looking for something better. You don't have to recruit them hard. You just have to be better than where they are already. And move 3, expand your recruiting geography. Most clinic owners only look for candidates in their immediate market, and they're stunned when they can't find who they need locally. Open your search, post regionally, post nationally, put it on social media, not just Indeed. We found that roughly half of candidates in the job market at any given time are open to relocating for the right opportunity. You're not going to get everybody, but you'll get access to a significantly bigger pool than the one you're fishing in right now. And one incredible hire from 2 states away who moves because they believe in what you're building is worth 5 mediocre local hires who took the job because it was convenient. Move 4, create a competition culture on your team. Your staff is capable of far more than you're currently asking them. You just haven't given them a reason to reach for it. Create competitions. Most Google reviews this month wins $200. Most membership sold this week gets Friday afternoon off. Most patient referrals this quarter wins a $500 shopping gift card. Give them a target that's specific, measurable, time-bound, and comes with a reward that actually matters to them. I've watched clinics go from getting 3 Google reviews a month to getting 40 in a month just by running a staff competition with a decent prize. And 40 reviews in a month does more for your Google ranking than any paid SEO campaign. Your staff will run through walls for recognition and a reward they're proud of. So give them a target and get out of the way. Bucket 3, the leadership strategies that let your clinic scale beyond you. This is where the real leverage is. This is where you stop being a shift supervisor and start being a real CEO. Strategy 1, hire a clinic director before you think you're ready. I know you think you can't afford one yet. I know you think the clinic isn't big enough. I know you think you can keep running things yourself for another few months. You can't. Every month you go without a clinic director is a month where your growth is capped by your personal bandwidth. The clinic director is your local integrator. They run the daily operation. They own the schedule. They manage the staff. They handle patient escalations. They protect the culture when you're not in the building. When you have a great clinic director in place, you can actually start working on the business, on the growth, the strategy, your next location, instead of spending every day in the clinic putting out fires. Hire for this role with the same rigor you'd hire for any executive position. Write the job description like you're hiring a general manager, because that's what they are. So strategy 2, always have 2 culture carriers in the building. When your team is small, there should never be a day where either of you nor your clinic director is present. Always 2. Your clinic director carries your culture when you're not there. They are the keeper of your standards. They are the person who corrects behavior that doesn't align with your values before it becomes a pattern. They are the person who reinforces what you stand for every single day. When you eventually open a second location, one of you goes there and one of you stays at the original. Each location has a culture anchor, And as you grow, each location has its own culture anchor that reports up to your integrator. That's how you scale culture, not by hoping it transfers, by putting a person responsible for it in every single room. Strategy 3, build your onboarding before you need it, not after. Every new hire should walk into a structure that tells them exactly what to expect, what they're responsible for, how they'll be trained, and what standard is. Week 1 should be documented. Week 2 should be documented. Month 1, outcomes should be clear. Month 3, performance check-ins should be scheduled before they even start. When your onboarding pathway is clear step by step, new hires become productive faster. They feel set up for success instead of thrown into chaos. And your existing team isn't constantly being pulled away from their own work to babysit someone who has never properly set up. Build the onboarding once and then run every new hire through the same track. Strategy 4, use your team's performance data to coach, not to punish. Your close rate by provider is a coaching tool. Your retention rate by front desk coordinator is a coaching tool. Your review score by shift is a coaching tool. None of these numbers exist to embarrass people. They exist to tell you where someone needs development and where they're already excelling. When you create a culture where performance data is discussed openly and used to improve, your team stops fearing the numbers and starts owning them. The ones who are truly performing get the recognition they deserve, and the ones who aren't have a clever, objective conversation rather than a subjective complaint. Bucket 4, the long game staffing plays that make your clinic an asset someone would pay a premium to acquire. Play 1. Build a team that could run the clinic without you for 30 days. If your clinic would noticeably struggle the moment that you step away, you don't own a business, you own a job. And nobody pays a premium multiple for a job. When a private equity group evaluates your clinic, one of the things they're looking at is whether the leadership team and the operational systems can sustain performance without the founder. If the answer is yes, your multiple goes up. If the answer is no, they either discount significantly or walk away. Build towards this intentionally. Step back a little at a time. Let your clinic director make more decisions. See what breaks. Fix it. Step back more. Repeat until the clinic runs. Play 2. Document your culture, not just your processes. Your SOPs tell people what to do. Your culture tells them who to be when nobody's watching. How does your team handle a patient complaint when you're not in the building? How do they talk about the clinic when you're having lunch together? The way they make decisions in gray areas when there's no policy that covers the situation exactly is what you want. That is culture. And culture either happens by design or by default. If you're not intentionally building it, it's building itself. And it may not be building towards what you actually want. Document your core values in a way that gives real behavioral examples. Tell stories about times the culture was upheld under pressure. Recognize people publicly when they demonstrate the values. Make the culture visible, tangible, and real. Not just words on a wall. Play 3. Build your bench before you need it. The best time to be recruiting is when you don't have an open position. Because when you're desperate, you make bad hiring decisions. Start now. Keep relationships with great candidates even when you don't have a role for them. When your team meets someone exceptional, a front desk coordinator at another business, a provider at a competing clinic, someone who described a menu item with more passion than your best salesperson, get their contact information. Tell them you'd love to talk someday. Build your pipeline continuously. That way, when you do have a need, you have options, and options give you the leverage to wait for the right person instead of hiring the available one. And play 4, treat staff development as a revenue strategy. Every dollar you invest in making your team better comes back in patient retention, close rate improvement, and word of mouth referrals. Providers who are better trained deliver better results, which generates better reviews, which builds your Google ranking, which generates more inbound leads at zero acquisition cost. Front desk coordinators who are trained up in conversations and follow up increase your close rate, which means every marketing dollar you spend can produce more revenue. Make sure you're sending your people to training, run internal development sessions, bring in outside coaches for your leadership team. The clinics that invest in their people grow faster than the clinics that treat training as an expense to be minimized. The bottom line is this: your team is either your greatest competitive advantage or your greatest vulnerability. There is no middle ground. And the difference between a team that drives your growth and a team that limits it comes down to three things: who you hire, what systems you give them to work with, and what culture you build around them. Get those three things right, and your clinic will grow in ways that would have seemed impossible when you were doing everything yourself. Now, if you want the exact hiring frameworks, onboarding templates, and core value structure I use across all my locations, just message me on Instagram and I'll send it over. And if you're ready to go deeper on building the clinic you actually want to own, click the link below. I'll see you on the other side.